The day began like any typical daytime talk show appearance: high energy, polite smiles, and cameras rolling. Sylvester Stallone strode onto Kelly Clarkson's set with confidence, ready to promote his latest project. Kelly welcomed him warmly, exchanging pleasantries, asking about his work and life. It all seemed routine until Kelly ventured into a territory Stallone specifically said he didn't want to discuss. Kelly asked about a personal controversy swirling in the tabloids. The question was framed carefully, but it pierced the boundary Stallone had hoped to avoid. His expression shifted mid-answer. She pressed gently for clarification. The tension built. What began as a promotional interview now teetered on a precipice. The studio lights felt harsher, the silence heavier. Stallone froze for a moment, took a breath, then spoke quietly but firmly. "I asked that we not go there." The audience murmured. The crew stiffened. Kelly, surprised, attempted to backtrack and pivot to lighter subjects. But the energy had changed. Stallone's posture straightened, his voice gained an undercurrent of restraint. He was choosing his words carefully now. Kelly tried another question, hoping to steer back to the movie, but she misstepped, referencing a relationship rumor tied to the controversy. Stallone's composure cracked. He interrupted mid-sentence, raising his voice mildly. "That's not your business." The live audience recoiled. The producers' faces flickered in monitors, sensing impending chaos. Kelly paused, taken aback by the unexpected hostility. She attempted empathy. "I'm sorry if I overstepped," Stallone responded, his voice rising, almost a growl of frustration. He accused the show of sensationalism, of forcing celebrities into uncomfortable corners. The tension spiked. Cameras panned to Kelly's stunned face and the audience's shifting expressions. With passion, Stallone launched into a mini-tirade. In Hollywood, personalities are exploited, private lives dissected without consent. He spoke of regrets over invasive questions in past interviews, promised to draw the line. Kelly tried to interject, but he continued, his tone intense. The decorum of the show cracked for viewers. This was something unexpected. Kelly held firm, defending her role as interviewer, claiming her curiosity is shared by fans. She said she meant no harm. Stallone's eyes flashed. He claimed that sometimes curiosity becomes cruelty. He recounted past interviews gone wrong, bristling at the imbalance between fame and humanity. The electric tension filled the silent gaps between sentences. Kelly offered a moment to cool off, a commercial break or a shift to lighter topics. Stallone declined. He demanded respect, asked that they stick to things he was comfortable with. The show's format, he said, gave him no control over questions. Kelly apologized again, but Stallone remained unsettled, pacing subtly, clasping his hands. The exchange grew more heated. Kelly asked if she could clarify, "What exactly do you want me to avoid?" Stallone scowled, then replied, "Don't dig into my personal wounds for ratings." The studio quieted. A producer behind the scenes whispered into a headset. Viewers watching felt the weight of a live confrontation as something they rarely ever see. Kelly tried a softer tone. "Let's talk about your craft, your legacy." But Stallone responded sharply, "That's all I want to talk about, period." He stared at her, energy raw. Silence. Kelly nodded slowly, conceding. The friction cooled slightly, but the tension remained etched in the air. It was clear the interview would never return fully to its original rhythm. Stallone then shifted into promotional mode, but the aftershock lingered. He described his upcoming film, his character, his artistic intent. Kelly asked questions about the role, his preparation, and he answered, but always with an undercurrent, "I'm speaking on my terms." The gap between public image and personal boundary loomed large. Kelly listened attentively, occasionally steering back to lighter anecdotes, his fitness regimen, stories from working on set, friends in the industry. Stallone responded, though still measured. The earlier clash cast shadows, laughs felt cautious, smiles forced. The studio atmosphere hung between confrontation and conversation. As the interview wound on, Stallone grew more comfortable again. He softened, offering humane reflections about aging in Hollywood, preserving dignity, dealing with tabloids. He acknowledged the power of talk shows, but warned of their capacity to wound when misused. Kelly nodded, acknowledging the tension. The audience sat captivated. Kelly then asked about mentorship, how he supports young actors. Stallone's gestures relaxed. He spoke with warmth about passing experience forward. The tone lifted. It was a necessary recalibration, reminding viewers that beyond the clash was a human being with passions, regrets, hopes. The defeat of animosity was tentative. Kelly asked if they could end on a lighter note, favorite jokes, behind-the-scenes bloopers. Stallone obliged, cracking a dry grin, sharing an amusing moment from filming. The laughter felt fragile, but it reintroduced softness to the exchange. The friction gave way somewhat to connection. With seconds left, Kelly said, "I hope you feel respected in our conversation today." Stallone replied, "I do now. Thanks for giving me space." They exchanged more civil words, nods. Kelly thanked him for being candid and for his time. Stallone offered thanks to the audience and cameras. The show closed with uneasy harmony. After the taping ended, crew members exchanged glances. In editing rooms, producers would weigh whether to cut or keep the heated parts. Social media would erupt. Fans would pick sides, defender of celebrity privacy or defender of journalistic inquiry. The clash would become headline fodder just as Stallone had warned. In the following days, press outlets would replay the confrontation, share clips, dissect body language. Some would condemn Kelly, others would defend her rights as host. Stallone would release a statement or post on social media either reaffirming boundaries or clarifying his tone. The event would ripple through celebrity interview law. This incident would probably become a case study. How far is too far for interviewers? How much privacy should public figures retain? How to balance audience curiosity with humane respect. Kelly's show, Stallone's reputation both would absorb the shock, and talk shows everywhere would feel a tremor. In retrospect, this episode would stand as a stark reminder. Even the most polished formats can erupt in raw humanity. One question can pierce the veneer of promotion and force confrontation. And in that space, we see the struggle between spectacle and silence, fame and vulnerability, and the fragile balance in all conversations. After the broadcast aired, clips spread across social media within minutes. Hashtags like #Stallone vs Kelly and #TalkShowMeltdown began trending worldwide. The network scrambled to manage the reaction, releasing short statements about respecting artistic boundaries. Yet, the more they clarified, the more the public wanted to know exactly what happened behind the cameras. Fans flooded comment sections with divided opinions. Some praised Stallone for standing up for himself, calling his reaction a masterclass in self-respect. Others criticized him for overreacting, arguing that Kelly was merely doing her job. The divide grew, spawning debates about celebrity culture, emotional control, and journalistic ethics. In interviews the following week, Kelly maintained a composed demeanor. She said she admired Stallone's honesty and regretted if her question caused discomfort. Her tone was measured, almost diplomatic, yet her expression hinted that the confrontation had shaken her confidence. The talk show world is built on comfort, and comfort had been shattered. Stallone, meanwhile, appeared on another outlet days later. He did not name Kelly directly, but he emphasized that personal dignity should come before entertainment. His words were met with applause online. The more he spoke, the more his stance resonated with those who saw him as a man defending integrity against a machine of intrusion. Television pundits dissected the exchange frame by frame. They analyzed his body language, the moment his voice rose, the flicker in Kelly's eyes. Psychologists weighed in, explaining that celebrities often face emotional fatigue from years of exposure. The clash, they said, was not about ego, it was about exhaustion. The network, sensing the ratings surge, quietly re-aired the episode. Viewership skyrocketed. Advertisers rushed to buy slots, even as critics accused the show of exploiting tension for profit. Behind the scenes, Kelly's producers debated whether confrontation had become the new currency of talk television. Stallone reportedly refused to appear on any similar show for months. He focused on his film promotions through pre-recorded segments, keeping interviews tightly controlled. Friends described him as calm but reflective, determined not to let the incident define him. His team emphasized positivity, redirecting the narrative toward his creative work. Kelly's team faced internal meetings on handling sensitive guests. They rewrote their pre-show briefing policies, emphasizing mutual respect. Some crew members confessed feeling responsible for pushing a question that triggered the outburst. Others defended the moment, calling it authentic television and unfiltered emotion in real time. As weeks passed, the moment evolved from controversy to cultural commentary. Editorials appeared about the fading boundary between honesty and spectacle. Some argued Stallone had exposed the industry's hypocrisy. Others claimed he played into it perfectly using outrageous publicity. The truth, as always, was tangled somewhere in between. During a charity event months later, Kelly and Stallone crossed paths backstage. Witnesses described the encounter as cordial but cautious. A short handshake, a polite nod. No cameras, no audience, just two professionals acknowledging an uncomfortable past. The air was thick with unspoken understanding. That brief exchange sparked another wave of speculation online. Are they friends again? Asked gossip sites. Both remained silent, choosing maturity over media fodder. Silence became their truce, a wordless agreement that not everything needed explanation. The world, however, thrives on noise. Eventually, Stallone addressed the incident in a podcast. He reflected that his reaction was probably stronger than intended, but added that years in Hollywood had hardened him to guard his privacy. His tone was calm, philosophical. He said that sometimes confrontation teaches more than comfort ever could. Kelly later echoed similar thoughts in an interview, saying that she learned to listen beyond curiosity. "People come with their own wounds," she said. "Sometimes questions reopen them." Her viewers admired the humility. It was a rare moment of self-reflection in an industry built on sparkle and control. As time moved on, the incident became part of talk show lore. Media students studied it, citing it in papers about authenticity and performance. Clips resurfaced periodically whenever discussions about celebrity boundaries re-emerged. It became both cautionary tale and pop culture reference. Stallone eventually returned to television interviews, but with firmer limits. His new rule: every question pre-approved. He joked lightly about it during one late-night appearance, saying, "I like surprises on screen, not in interviews." The audience laughed, signaling that wounds had mostly healed. Kelly, too, evolved. Her show adopted a warmer, more conversational style, focusing less on gossip and more on emotional storytelling. Ratings stabilized, proving that empathy could replace confrontation. Yet, in private, producers admitted that controversy had permanently altered how they viewed live broadcasting. Industry insiders began calling that episode the turning point. It reminded everyone that even well-meaning entertainment could bruise. It exposed how fame magnifies every human reaction. Beneath rehearsed smiles, real feelings still lie via and sometimes erupt, uninvited, before millions. Years later, retrospective documentaries revisited the event. Journalists framed it as a clash between authenticity and performance, two unstoppable forces colliding on air. They noted how both Stallone and Kelly emerged wiser, more grounded, their reputations intact but transformed. When the anniversary of the interview arrived, fans circulated edited montages of the moment, some humorous, others respectful. Commenters called it the day television got real. It had become part of cultural memory, an enduring symbol of honesty in an industry built on illusion. In the end, neither Kelly nor Stallone defined that day alone. It was the audience, watching, who decided what it meant. Some saw anger, others courage. Some saw discomfort, others truth. But everyone agreed on one thing: for a few unguarded minutes, television stopped pretending, and that made it unforgettable. As time rolled forward, Stallone's perspective on the incident deepened. In interviews, he began describing it as a moment of truth in an artificial world. He said that everyone has limits, and his was simply visible that day. Audiences resonated with his candor. The rawness that once shocked viewers now seemed almost heroic in hindsight. The entertainment industry, meanwhile, subtly shifted. Producers became more cautious about emotionally charged questions. Publicists began inserting stricter clauses in contracts, ensuring that stars could veto certain topics. It was as though one eruption on a sunny talk show morning had rewritten the unspoken etiquette of celebrity interviews. Kelly's producers noticed how the confrontation had unexpectedly strengthened her credibility. Viewers found her more relatable, less rehearsed, more human. While she faced harsh headlines initially, the vulnerability she showed afterward earned quiet respect. The ordeal, once seen as a scandal, slowly transformed into a shared learning moment. The internet, however, never forgets. Old clips resurfaced whenever either of them made headlines. Memes evolved, half joking, half admiring. Some highlighted Stallone's fiery composure, others celebrated Kelly's calm under pressure. The moment lived on as digital folklore, a permanent reminder of how fragile on-screen calm can be. Behind the spotlight, Stallone confided to close friends that he didn't regret standing up for himself. "Sometimes silence is surrender," he said. "And that day, I wasn't going to surrender." His words resonated in later interviews as symbols of boundary setting, a rare gesture of resistance in a culture that thrives on exposure. Kelly's team later invited media coaches and psychologists to train staff in emotional awareness. They learned how triggers work, how personal histories shape reactions, and how to maintain empathy even under live pressure. The show quietly matured, trading viral drama for deeper, more authentic storytelling. When both stars attended the same charity gala 2 years later, tabloids predicted fireworks. Instead, cameras captured a surprising scene: a light exchange, a brief smile, a friendly hug. The gesture broke the internet once again, but this time, it wasn't outrage that trended. It was reconciliation. The hug became symbolic to professionals acknowledging growth. Kelly later said that forgiveness is not about forgetting, but about releasing the weight. Stallone echoed the sentiment in an interview, admitting that life is too short for grudges. The story that once divided people now began to unite them. Industry peers praised the transformation. It wasn't about who was right or wrong anymore, it was about evolution. Talk shows, once criticized for exploiting emotions, started shifting toward authenticity. Producers realized that vulnerability and not conflict was what audiences connected to most. Documentaries later chronicled the event as part of a broader narrative about media evolution. Scholars analyzed how a single unfiltered moment forced an entire industry to question itself. What started as tension between two celebrities became a cultural turning point in how the media treats its guests. Kelly's viewers noticed a change in her tone during interviews. She listened more, interrupted less, and created space for honest pauses. Ratings didn't deeper, they actually climbed. Viewers felt they were watching real conversations, not rehearsed exchanges. It became her brand, empathy in action. Stallone's public image softened, too. Once known only for toughness, he began to be seen as emotionally intelligent, to a man who valued respect as much as strength. His later films reflected that maturity, exploring themes of redemption, family, and personal peace. The clash on Kelly's show had left a lasting creative mark. Eventually, both Kelly and Stallone agreed to discuss the incident together on a reunion segment. The announcement stunned fans. When it aired, the tone was reflective, warm, and unexpectedly funny. They joked about how dramatic the media made it sound. The laughter felt redemptive, years of tension dissolving live on screen. During that reunion, Kelly admitted she was nervous to invite him back. Stallone smiled and said, "That's how I knew it was time." The audience erupted in applause. The two exchanged stories, not about anger, but about learning, showing how growth can emerge from conflict when ego steps aside. The reunion episode became one of the show's highest-rated broadcasts ever. Critics praised it as television at its most human. It wasn't about spectacle anymore, it was about healing. Both stars walked away lighter, their reputations rejuvenated, their relationship restored. Afterward, Stallone's social media lit up with messages of admiration. Fans called him a class act, proof that accountability doesn't mean weakness. Kelly, too, received praise for her courage in revisiting a difficult past. Together, they modeled something rare in modern fame: humility after heat. Months later, at an awards ceremony, Kelly presented Stallone with a Lifetime Achievement trophy. Her speech included a subtle nod to their shared history, calling him a man who teaches us that true strength lives in grace. Stallone smiled widely, visibly touched. The audience rose in a standing ovation. That night's photos went viral, not for scandal, but for beauty. The image of Kelly and Stallone embracing beneath glittering lights became emblematic of reconciliation done right. Media outlets hailed it as a full-circle moment, a story that began in conflict but ended in mutual admiration. Over time, the memory of that fiery interview softened into nostalgia. It became a symbol not of discord but of growth. People began referencing it whenever public figures clashed, saying, "They'll have their Kelly Stallone moment someday." The phrase entered pop culture vocabulary, a metaphor for eventual peace. And so, what began as a heated clash evolved into one of television's most unexpected stories of respect, humility, and change. From eruption to redemption, from confrontation to understanding, the journey reminded everyone watching that even in the glare of fame, real humanity still flickers beneath the lights, and sometimes, that's the best show of all.